I'm thinking it's time. Gotta get it.
And now we move on swiftly with the program, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for you to get those questions answered that you've had. Hopefully you've emailed almost all of them to summit@amrod.co.za with that, of course, the subject line panel discussion. And our panelists this afternoon, please welcome Amit, Nimrod, and Tim. Let's give them a warm round of applause and welcome him to the stage. Thank you very much, gents.
I'm thinking it's time. Gotta get it. Gotta get it.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, to host this panel discussion, I want you to put a big round of applause together for your very own King of Talk, your very own Oprah Winfrey, Gabby Bricker. Come on, give it up.
Thank you. I'm thinking it's time. Gotta get it. Gotta get it.
Well, Katlecha, on the Oprah Winfrey note, it's not under your chairs, but there is something for everybody at the end, okay? Something really cool. So you know, we got lots of questions from everybody, and thanks to everyone for submitting. Guys, there were a few personal ones. Can we just get those out the way first? Okay, I'm joking. We won't do those. But we couldn't answer all of them, but I think we managed to kind of collate some of the major questions. So I think let's just jump in. So Tim, you know, your background is in print. You were at the Dow Jones, and you were involved in publishing the Wall Street many years ago. So I suppose if 20 years ago I walked in and said to you, hey, newspaper's going to be redundant, it's going to disappear, you might have laughed at me. So let me ask it to you today. Are promo products going to be redundant?
Wow, not at all. I think that, in fact, the real golden era of promotional products could be coming. People are so turned off by print advertising and digital advertising, and their engagement level is so low that getting something that is appropriate for that person and that demographic, and getting a free gift, and getting something that really works and ties back to the giver, to the business, is A+. I mean, we're seeing double-digit growth above on many of the big distributors, and I think that's really an awesome thing. I think it really gets back to, are you meeting the need of that business, and are the products picked that are appropriate to that marketplace? So I think the best years are ahead.
Us too. So, Amit, you know, we all have experienced a decade of zero growth in South Africa for the economy. But while we don't have any official stats, the conventional wisdom is that the promo industry has grown. I mean, can you share any reasons with us why you think that's the case?
Yeah, so we don't have actual stats on that, but our belief is that it absolutely has. And I think whilst Tim says the golden era is coming, I think we've had a really strong era already. And I think the growth has come for lots of reasons. One, you know, it's a mature market now. And so end users are familiar with promotional products. They understand what they're likely to get. Accessibility is there now. They know that they don't have to plan. They can't do that with TV and radio campaigns. They can do that with promotional products. You want 50,000 pens in 2 days' time. That's doable now. It wasn't doable then. And so I really do believe that there's been a shift in spend from top line to bottom line. And think about it in practical terms. You know, I take my laptop to work every day. Yes, it's branded Amrod. I've got an Amrod branded laptop, but even if I had an ABSA branded laptop, for example, I take my laptop to work every day. I see the logo on the laptop on the way to work. I see the logo on the laptop on the way home. You know, I use a notebook that has a logo. I use a pen that has a logo 5-6 times a day. I see that logo all the time. A memory stick. In winter, I wear a jacket that has a logo. So that ability to get that level, that number of impressions, gives you and the client a significant ROI, a return on investment. I think that return on investment is what corporates now understand well, and realize that it's really inexpensive relative to other forms of media to spend on promotional products. It's accessible. There's tons of stock. They don't have to plan. There's such selection. There's new stuff coming out all the time. And so credit to all the suppliers in the industry for building this industry up And you know, I look forward to this golden era, which I actually do believe is coming. I think we're gonna. When was the last time you saw a TV ad? I don't watch much TV anymore, but if I do, I watch maybe Netflix, or I download. You know, I watch a bit of YouTube or something. I don't watch ads anymore. I don't listen to the radio on the way to work. I listen to a podcast. You know, so I think promotional products are here to stay and grow. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, thank you. So Nimrod, you remember clearly orders coming through on the fax machine, right? You've still got that sound going through your head.
011-783-3503.
Are you still taking orders there? Guys, if you, any complaints, just fax them through to that number. We'll look at them. So, you know, and I think if we look at our online offering at Amrod today, it really is sophisticated. It's come such a far way. You know, like, how much more is there to go in terms of the technology space?
I think we're scratching the surface, really. I think there's a lot of ways to interact, both, you know, us with our customers as well as you with your customers. I think there's a lot of automation that can still happen, which will enable, you know, all companies in all parts of the chain to be able to scale without hiring thousands of new people. Let technology help scale and ensure that, you know, you can really kind of get all the information, all the data, all the products, you know, and kind of DIY it, do it yourself online. I think there's a long way to go.
So Amit threw out some crumbs for us, but I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to share with us something that you got up your sleeve for the next few months in terms of the technology space.
So yeah, so there's actually a product that we're gonna be launching in a few months, which we are very, very excited about. It's essentially a way for you know, anybody on our website to be able to you know, put the logo on in the correct way, a print-ready logo onto a product, onto any product, all products. Use it for either a presentation or use it as approved art. You know, so if you submit. We're just as excited.
You're making him feel like Steve Jobs here.
Yeah, the new Apple. No. Yeah, and I think, you know, if you do that, you can have the entire process between, which now is contact us, give us the information, we capture it, we give you a layout, you take it back, get it approved, and submit it to us, and only then does it go into production. It'll be kind of take all those steps away, do it yourself, get the product approved by your client, submit it to us, and it's straight into our system and straight into branding. So just, you know, save all those spaces in between. And I think the efficiency gains, you know, for you, the efficiency and cost gains for us means it's really a kind of a very, very good way that technology can be mutually beneficial.
Yeah, let's have another clap for that. We're looking forward. So, Tim, I'm going to come back to you, and maybe you can share with us some of your experience in the US, in particular around industries such as pharma and insurance, where legislation is becoming stricter, you know, in gifting and what you're allowed to give, and how are your distributors finding that issue in the US, and what's been the response to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, in the pharmaceutical industry, about 6 or 7 years ago, some of the major pharmaceutical companies got together and said, we're not going to give promotional products out anymore to doctors and to doctors' offices. That we're going to cut that out because we don't want to be accused of moving along prescription drugs because of the pen or the clipboard that a doctor has. Now, if a doctor really is prescribing a certain drug because they happen to have gotten a pen for free to give out to their clients, I think that's a whole other problem. But they bound together, and it cut in 1 year about $1 billion of sales out of the industry. $1 billion. But what happened? You know, I think the creative people in the distributor world and working with their suppliers came at this and said, we're not going to just sort of roll over and die. What they actually ended up doing was there was a little loophole in this, which said, we'll still buy promotional products if it's educational in nature. And so the distributors started partnering with the suppliers and came up with all sorts of unique products and services that could be offered to a pharmaceutical company to give to a doctor, so that the doctor could have in their offices some sort of an educational activity that was promotional in nature, but met that little checkbox is this educational? So I think it really gets back to keeping your eye on what's happening and then attacking it with your supplier partner and coming at it with really a creative solution and not sort of just rolling over and saying, well, it's gone, I can't get it back.
So I'm going to put you on the spot with a bit of a tougher question, which we get quite often. So, Amrod, Amrod's been an industry leader in the trade-only space, as Amit spoke about earlier. But do distributors exist in 10 years, and what do they look like?
Oh, sure. Do distributors exist? I think they exist. But let me tell you the ones that won't exist. Okay, so there'll be some that won't exist. It's like travel agents, right? They don't exist in the same form they were 20 years ago. I think that distributors that depend on a small repeat order that requires really no creativity on their part, and that really is where their business is, are going to have a really tough time surviving in 10 years. Because those orders will go to e-commerce players, they'll go somewhere else. I think that the distributors that in fact look at this as a solutions business and understand the business of their clients and the business of their prospects will be able to actually make more money in a higher margin because they'll be solving real business problems. They won't just be ordering 144 mugs that have a blue logo. That business may be fine for now. In 10 years, I don't think so.
Amit, would you concur with that? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to answer that question, your question in a moment, but just to add to what Tim says, I guess it will become more sticky. They'll be as well. When an end user is dependent on a distributor for creativity and a suite of solutions, it's very likely that it's very difficult for them to withdraw.
Absolutely.
So to answer your question about where the distributors look, we believe in the distributor model. I think that's clear, right? Everything that we've done up till now, from 2004, is about the distributor. Anything we think about, anything we build in terms of technology is all designed to make it easier for the distributor to deal with us. So we are a trade-only player who has always been a trade-only player, continues to be a trade-only player, and foresees exactly what you say, that distributors who invest heavily in their business, invest in creativity, have got a tremendous future in this industry because this industry is going to grow, and we, together with distributors, are going to help make it grow. So the answer to your question is absolutely, and I think also we owe a debt of gratitude to distributors as a whole. We don't exist without distributors, and so we're not too arrogant to believe otherwise. We know that is the case, and every single one of our orders, 100% of our turnover, comes from people in the room and those who have not attended. And so, the answer to your question is pretty much been answered, I think.
We got it. So Nimrod, you've spent quite a bit of time traveling into Africa and leading the Amrod's expansion into Africa. Amit mentioned earlier, we will be opening Nigeria next month. For those of you who come to visit us, thank you. There are people in the front row here. So where do you see opportunities for resellers outside of the borders of South Africa?
I think there is a lot of opportunity, especially as we go and open new markets further north. I think what you find when you go to those markets is that the industry is very immature. There's hardly any kind of formal promotional product supply market. The products that are available are kind of commoditized items that are brought in for more retail. No real inventory, no supply, very fragmented branding, and I think as we go and try to fix that supply problem, that supply issue, and have our entire range available a few days after it's available in South Africa, I think those markets will expand hugely over time, as South Africa did maybe 15 or 20 years ago when the market was much smaller, and as the suppliers got more professional, the market grew. I think that's a real possibility, or I think it will definitely happen. And I think there's an opportunity for even our local South African clients to have a look and engage with us as to where we're going and what those markets look like, and maybe even come along for the ride, because there's there are distributors in those regions, but maybe they're not as professional or mature as the distributors in South Africa. And I think for a South African distributor, who knows the Amrod product range and what's possible and what's not, I think it'll be a viable proposition to come along and set up a distributor, and make the whole pie bigger for everybody. It's not just competition. It's the more end users get that catalog or the web address on their desk, the bigger the pie gets, the more the market grows, and it's kind of a self-fulfilling situation, which is great.
So, Amit, if you were a distributor sitting here today and you were planning for the future, what do you think people should be mindful of?
Disruption. I don't think it's only the distributors that should be mindful of it. I think about that every day for our business. Think about taxis. Think about cameras. The iPhone came along, Uber came along. Think about the Yellow Pages. Google came along. Who expected that? Who saw that coming? And so we sit here and we have a Wednesday afternoon strategy meeting. We talk about that all the time. How are we going to keep an eye out on what potentially could disrupt our business? Now, look, I don't want to scare anyone. It doesn't look like there's major disruption happening, tomorrow. And I asked him that same question earlier in a separate discussion. And he also felt that, there hasn't been much in our industry in the last few years, and he doesn't necessarily think there's going to be too much. But it's something we have to be mindful of. It's something we have to keep our eye on. And every company, not just in this industry, all over the world, in all industries, just needs to invest heavily in their business and think through what could potentially disrupt them. That would be my thought.
I would jump in with a couple of things. I think, I think one should think about how do you disrupt your own business. And so if I were a distributor here, and I would give this advice to really any distributor or supplier, think about your own business and analyze your own business as if you were your own competitor. How would you attack your business? What would you do to yourself if you really wanted to run your business that you know so well out of business? So a couple of things to look at. Do you have overconfidence in a certain number of your business relationships? Do you have clients that represent a large percentage of your revenue? Or all of your clients in one industry? Really think about, how would you be attacked and how would you potentially lose? And then sort of fix that. In the States, we had a very large distributor that had a $10 million revenue business, and all of their clients were in the oil and natural gas industry. And that was great when the price of oil and natural gas were going up. It wasn't so great when the price came down. They really went from about 10 million to 2 million in a 2-year span. So think about who your clients are, and do you need to have a different kind of client base so you've got a healthier business? So really think about, what can you do to protect your business if somebody attacks you?
I'll jump in as well.
Sure.
So I actually think that our strategy with Altitude is kind of an example of us disrupting ourselves. I really do. We're bringing in a new value offering. There are clashes, especially in the gifting space with the Amrod offering, but again, it's a risk. If we don't do it, somebody else will. And we think this is going to be a huge hero brand, like you said before. And if we don't do it, somebody else could. And that's why I think, even though it might be counterintuitive sometimes to disrupt yourself, I think this is an example of that.
So we could end it on that note, but I want to ask one more question to Nimrod, that you took the mic. Lots of entrepreneurs in this room who might be wanting to know some things about building the Amrod business, and maybe share with us a decision that you made or that you didn't make along the journey that, in looking back was an important turning point.
I think if I think back to when we started doing the in-house branding, we acquired a company. We saw this. In fact, we saw it we closely tracked the U.S. market, and we saw in-house branding as an integral part of that U.S. market. So we bought a branding company and we integrated it, and we kind of said, okay, you go brand now the pens and whatever else we're selling. And as we know now, it's not as easy as that. So, after being kind of very popular with our clients, because it's very easy to shift a box from you know, the warehouse to somebody's car, we felt a lot of kind of, you know, anger and disappointment at the kind of service level, because branding is very, very complicated. So I guess about 18 months in, I remember it was like a December, and we were going away on holiday, and we just taking hit after hit, and we kind of had a discussion that said, look, maybe we should just can this whole thing, revert back to our previous model. You know, we tried it, it's too hard, this branding story. And, you know, we went away, we had our holidays, and we came back, and I remember our first conversation when we came back was we were all kind of unanimous on this idea, and that was, we can't go back. This is the future. We've seen it overseas. We know it's the right thing to do. We've got to, instead of shying away from it, we've got to double down. We've got to reinvest, invest in systems, invest in machines and in people, and actually really kind of make this central part of our company instead of running away from the complexity. And I think that complexity is actually one of the key drivers to our success. So very happy we didn't go that route.
And I think so with the rest of us in this room. So thank you and well done. And I think a big round of applause for our panelists. We're going to leave it there. Thank you, guys, for sharing with us.